Genie Plus has been plaguing Disney World for years. So what is the true secret to using it at EPCOT? We're gonna find out. Here we go. It's 9:23. I'm running behind. Our first lightning lane is in 10-ish minutes. We don't have time to talk. I'll explain on the way. Let's just go. I had breakfast in the car. Today we are here in Disney's EPCOT and we are going to be talking all about Genie Plus. It can be pretty confusing, so we're going to talk about tips and tricks to using the skip the line service in Disney's EPCOT, and we're going to avoid standby completely. Plus, we're going to see just how many lightning lanes we can get in one day. All right, friends, so we are here in EPCOT this morning, and let's talk about what I've already done before the park even opened. So if you're gonna buy Genie Plus, that is Disney's skip the line service, your first lightning lane is gonna open at 7 a.m. So at 7 a.m. I grabbed Remy's Ratatouille adventure. We do think that that is probably the highest priority here in EPCOT when it comes to lightning lanes. It goes pretty quickly, but Frozen Ever After and Test Track aren't that far behind it. Also, I'll be totally honest and tell you guys that this morning my Disney Experience app was moving fairly slow, which happens quite a bit, unfortunately, especially if there's a lot of people. So I did not manage to grab the virtual queue for Guardians of the Galaxy, and there is another virtual queue drop at 1 p.m. However, I didn't want to risk it. I wanted to guarantee that I got on Guardians today. So at 9 o'clock when the park opened, I went ahead and bought it. If you're staying on property, you can buy it at 7, but I'm not, so waited till 9. Now, if you missed that 7 o'clock like me and you don't want to pay for it, there is a second drop for the virtual queue for Guardians of the Galaxy at 1 p.m. If you aren't aware, that is the only way that you can actually hop on the Guardians ride currently, is if you get a virtual queue or if you buy it. And I wanted to make sure I got on it today, so I definitely bought it. Now, if you've never heard of Genie Plus or you just need a refresher on it, there's actually 3 tiers for Genie. So the first one is the free tier. It's Disney's Genie. That is where on the My Disney Experience app, you're gonna find a tip board. It's gonna give you suggestions, kind of recommend things for you. That's about it. The second tier is the one you hear about the most. That's Disney Genie Plus, and that's gonna range anywhere from $15 to $35 per day. And it grants you access to most of the lightning lanes throughout Disney World, but not quite all of them. It's around 50. Now, the third tier is what kind of makes up that gap if something is not on Genie Plus, and that's the individual lightning lanes. So it's going to cost upwards of $30 for each individual lightning lane, which is an additional fee per person per day on top of that Genie Plus lightning lane fee that you're already paying. Now, you don't have to get both. There are some cases where we actually only recommend getting the individual lightning lane, but today we're going to be using both just to see how well they work here in EPCOT. Now, I will say, kind of unfortunately for me, Remy is all the way back here in the France Pavilion towards the kind of back of the World Showcase, so I'm pouring sweat, but you know, that's Orlando for you, so it's fine. Just be prepared. So here we are, we made it back to Ratatouille in the France Pavilion. So if you haven't been on Remy's Ratatouille adventure, it's a really fun ride where you shrink down to the size of a rat and you go on some crazy adventures with Remy. This is a 3D ride, so there have been some issues with motion sickness, but if that's not something that you're concerned about, this one's cute, it's fun. Normally the wait times can get pretty high, and it's a little bit harder to rope drop unless you are coming in through the International Gateway entrance. So this is always a pretty decent pick for your first Genie Plus lightning lane. Alright, so Ratatouille is so cute. I actually really like it. I think it's so neat how they get the smell sort that way. You really feel like you've shrunk down to the size of a rat. I don't necessarily think it's worth like the longest wait because it is a pretty short ride. So normally I feel like 45 minutes is about the max that I would pull for it. But luckily we're not worrying about any of that today. While I was in line though, I did go ahead and make another lightning lane selection for Test Track at 1:30 because it was the furthest down. Genie Plus is only $18 today, so one of our first tips is to kind of let that Genie Plus number gauge what the park is going to look like for you. So if you don't know, Genie can go all the way up to $35 per day, and they have actually just changed it to now you can do a park hopper option, which is all 4 parks, or you can just pay for the park that you're going to. So it might not be as expensive. So today I only had to pay $18 for EPCOT, so I don't think it'll be that bad. That's towards the bottom end, so I'm feeling pretty good. And Remy was only 35 minutes when I first got here wait time wise, and that's pretty good for that too. So first tip, use Genie to kind of figure out how busy the park is going to be. I did purchase that Guardian of the Galaxy Lightning Lane for Cosmic Rewind this morning, and I selected my time for about 10:30. That's one of the pros, I think, of the individual Lightning Lane is you can choose when you go. So sometimes if you're using the virtual queue for Guardians and for Tron over in Magic Kingdom, there's 2 virtual queues right now. It can go faster, it can go slower. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to predict exactly when you're going to be able to get in line for that. However, if you use an individual Lightning Lane, you can choose your time, you know exactly when it's going to be. And I knew that I was going to be here, so we've got about 30 minutes and then we're going to head up towards Guardians. One thing to kind of know about EPCOT, if you're rope dropping or if you're going to be here early, EPCOT does not have a ton of breakfast options. One of the best options though is actually back here at Les Halles in the France Pavilion. So we love to do like a rope drop Remy or get a first Lightning Lane for here and then have breakfast over at Les Halles. I already had breakfast, but I haven't had coffee. And Les Halles also has some good coffee. So we're gonna check out the line, might grab a coffee there or at Joffrey's, and then I'm gonna go up, take some style photos, because honestly, all of your photos are gonna look best early in the day before you've sweated through all your clothes. You can put your hair up when you're done, you know, it's just one thing to get out of the way. So I'm gonna go do that, and then it should be time for our Guardians. Another like general EPCOT tip is I love the World Showcase in the morning. It's so quiet, there's very few people out here. It's just good and relaxing, and sometimes you need a relaxing morning. So if you want a relaxing morning, come back to Les Halles, grab some breakfast, some coffee, and then just kind of find a spot in the gardens, hang out, walk around. Now most of the stores are not going to be open until 11 back here, but it is just nice. Coffee is acquired. I always get the shaken Jamaican with caramel and cream, and I'd love to know your coffee order because I'm trying to mix things up, so drop them below. All right, the coffee has been devoured, the photos were successfully taken, and if you want to know why we're all about photos, it's because we have this fun thing called AllEars Style, where we do lots of Disney outfits to give you guys inspiration, and also just because it's fun for us. If you want to see what this full outfit looks like, you can go check it out on our Instagram right now. And you can tell I'm done with the photos because my hair's in a ponytail, and that's the significant, like that's how you can tell, oh okay, they're done with that part of their day. Now if you have not been on Guardians of the Galaxy, this is the newest ride here in EPCOT. It's an Omni coaster. A lot of people love to say it's kind of like a combination of Space Mountain, Rock and Roller Coaster, and even the Harry Potter Escape from Gringotts ride over in Universal. It's a lot of fun. This one does have issues with motion sickness as well, but I'm telling you guys, this is my favorite ride in Disney World right now. And you can even get up to 5 different songs, which I think is the best part. Now normally I would recommend grabbing that virtual queue just to save yourself some money, but again, I kind of messed up today and wasn't able to grab one. You can grab one at 1, but it doesn't always work out. Now I will say, if you're utilizing that virtual queue, it still could take up to and sometimes over an hour if you're in the virtual queue. Sometimes it could go faster. Really just depends on how the ride has been working that day, but don't count on just zooming through that queue. I love that ride. I don't know, it's so good. Best one Disney's done in so long, and it's not even the newest one at this point, so I feel good saying that. Now we have some time until our next Lightning Lane, and until we can even make our next Lightning Lane, because we utilize that 2-hour cool down. So we're gonna find a place to sit, hang out, and chat about some of the best tips for EPCOT. So I have about 10 minutes until I can make my next Lightning Lane, and I have already utilized one of my 2-hour cooldowns today. If you don't know what a 2-hour cooldown is, essentially when you're using Genie Plus, you can make a new Lightning Lane every 2 hours. So say you make a Lightning Lane at 10, you can't make another one until noon if the first Lightning Lane is after that time, or you know, at noon. However, say I make a Lightning Lane at 10 and it's available for 10:15, I can go scan in, and then after 10:15, after I've scanned in, I can make another one. I unfortunately am using the 2-hour cooldown just because I wanted to make sure I got a test track Lightning Lane And I'm glad I did because it's already down to 7 o'clock tonight and it's only 11:30 right now. Outside of that, the latest one is gonna be Frozen. It's sitting at about 4:30 right now. One of our biggest tips is what I'm gonna do right now, which is gonna make me a little nervous, but sometimes you have to take risks, and that's what I'm about to do. So I know as soon as I make that Frozen lightning lane, I am gonna have to wait for 2 more hours before I can make another one, but I really don't necessarily want to do that. However, I know that Mission Space has lightning lanes for right now, so I'm gonna make one for Mission Space, immediately tap in, and then turn around and make one for Frozen. That might put me back, it might make Frozen a little bit later, but it means I get Mission Space out of the way. So I'm gonna take a risk. It may or may not pay off, but we'll find out. Now, another one of our favorite tips is don't trust your brain. I do not trust my brain. This is for across all parks. I will forget when it's time to make my next lightning lane, especially if I'm waiting for that 2-hour cooldown. So highly recommend setting an alarm, doing whatever you can to make sure that you don't forget it. I always set my alarm for about 2 minutes before I can make that lightning lane, so that way I can get into the app, decide what I want, and be ready for when it starts. So don't trust yourself. I know I don't. Okay, here we go. I'm about to take my risk. Now, Mission Space, the orange is actually a 45-minute wait right now, which it'll be nice to skip. If you haven't been on Mission Space, it's where you get to sit in the actual driver's seat or engineer's seat or navigator's seat. There's a few seats. But you're going to Mars, you get to work together as a group, and you might even get to be in charge. Okay, another one. I made one for 11:50, but you can scan in 5 minutes early. Hi. Perfect, thank you. So that's another hack. You can scan in 5 minutes early. So I'm gonna turn around and go make my Frozen lightning lane and hope that this wasn't a silly decision that I made. Oh my gosh, no, it wasn't. No way. No, it's okay, it's okay. Okay, so here we are, and I went ahead and got my Frozen lightning lane, which starts at 4:55. Hopefully that might, if we can finesse it, if we can make it work, that might be our last one of the day. I don't wanna get my hopes too high, but I'm feeling pretty good, and this is another one that we got off of our list. I will say this is not something I super recommend for you guys to do because the wait time for this normally will drop pretty low, and Frozen's a higher priority, but I wanted to make sure we got on this one today. Think smarter, not harder, friends. Now, Mission Space was a lot of fun. I had a really good time. I'm actually still here in the training center where you can come hang out if you decide you don't want to ride. I will say it is so much more intense than I even think Guardians. I'm not someone who typically gets motion sick, and this one is a little bit overwhelming. Also, if you struggle with feelings of claustrophobia, this one might definitely be a skip for you. Even the people behind me said that I was listening kind of as we were walking out, and they were like, oh, it was super fun, and then I realized during the ride I couldn't lift my head because of how the forces make you feel, and they had a hard time with that. So little things like that might be a good reason to skip Mission Space, and I definitely don't think it should be a Genie Plus priority. It's a lot of fun, I have a great time on it, but if you're concerned about any of these things, or if you're just nervous about how it might make you feel, you can definitely try the green, or you can skip this one and you'll be totally fine. Now, I will say I'm utilizing a 2-hour cooldown right now thanks to my Frozen lightning lane. I'm gonna try to modify it, but until I can do that for certain, I'm gonna hang out here with some air conditioning and with some seats, and we'll kind of restructure our plan and see where we go from here. So I was gonna sit in there as long as I could, but the signal wasn't great, and I'm trying to modify. Now that's one thing, if you did not know, that you can actually modify your lightning lanes, and if you continuously refresh, sometimes you can get an earlier one. So if you don't know how to do that, you can click the 3 little dots on your lightning lane. It'll pop up modify as an option, you just refresh. And honestly, a lot of people, we use it mainly to get an earlier time, but sometimes you might not be able to make it back to that lightning lane, and you can make it for a later time as well. All right, the modifying worked out. I just sat and scrolled for a while, and now I have a Frozen Ever After at 350 instead of 455. So I'll take that. So here in Connections, this is actually one of the Starbucks locations, and if you didn't know, they have charging ports and USB ports. My test track starts right now, but that's not contingent on making my next lightning lane, but I can make my next one actually, ironically, in 1 minute. So I'm gonna make my next lightning lane for actually Spaceship Earth down here at the front, because I'm just gonna start making my way slowly around EPCOT at this point after we ride Test Track, and I'm actually very excited. Now, if you've never been on Test Track, this is a ride where you get to come in and design your own car and then put it to the test through a bunch of different trials, and it gets pretty exciting. You even have an outdoor portion to test speed. Now, if you're doing this in the Genie Plus lightning lane, or if you're going through Genie Plus for this, you can still design your car, although oftentimes you're gonna walk right past it. And if there's any lightning in the area or any weather related, it will go down because of that outside portion. And if anything happens with Genie and you have a lightning lane, it will just just redo the time for you. It'll give you something called a redemption, where you can come back at a different time when the ride reopens. Yeah. There is no rhyme or reason to anything I'm choosing right now. It's based purely off of my vibes. Love. Love. There she is. That's my car.
Here comes the final test. Energizing for health test.
Alright, so test track was super fun. I love that one. If you're a long-haired individual like myself, definitely consider putting your hair up in a ponytail or just however to get out of your face, because it's more fun when your hair doesn't get tangled. And that's honestly one of the only reasons I skip test track, is because I don't like when my hair gets tangled. So put your hair up. Now we are to the point where every other lightning lane today is showing for right now, pretty much. The only one that's a little bit further out is Soren, and it's 15 minutes out. Normally I consider Soren one of those bigger ones, depending on the day. So I would highly recommend grabbing one like Soren now that we've kind of finished the big ones already. But since it's only 15 minutes out, I'm gonna, again, kind of think smarter, not harder. We're gonna start back at Spaceship Earth, and then we're just gonna make a slow circle around and keep going until it's time to head to Norway for Frozen. One of our biggest tips is always know your priorities. There are going to be rides that you need to grab things for. So like Remy, Test Track, Frozen, Ever After. Those are big priorities. Everything else is just like a cherry on top, you know? Now, kind of in line with that, like choosing your Genie Plus priorities, I honestly recommend doing that for your entire Disney trip per park. Pick 3 things that you really, really want to prioritize. It doesn't even have to be rides. It can be whatever your top 3 must-dos are, and that will help guarantee that you get those things done, that you get to do what you really want to do. Everything after that is just the cherry on top of the cake, on top of the ice cream. It's just a bonus, and you get to know that you got to do your things. And if you're here on a busier day and you only get to do those 3 things, it's okay, because that was your priorities. For us, Genie Plus priorities here should definitely Remy first, oftentimes Test Track number 2, and then Frozen number 3. But after you make that first lightning lane, just kind of keep an eye on which of the second 2 Test Track or Frozen has gotten later in the day, and probably choose that one first, because that means that will be the first one to run out of lightning lanes. So like today, I had thought I was gonna go for Frozen, but Test Track went way further out, so we did Test Track. All right, here we are, Spaceship Earth. If you don't know what Spaceship Earth is, it is the ride that's actually inside the EPCOT ball, the prettiest girl in school. And it's narrated by Dame Judi Dench, and it kind of takes you through the evolution of human history and communication and technology. So let's skip the 30-minute line and use Genie Plus for it. All right, so I tapped in, but now the whole ride is being evac'd, so I'm not gonna do Spaceship Earth right now, but that's okay, because there will be more lightning lanes for this one later, and I'm gonna go to guest relations and make sure that I didn't lose my lightning lane for this. All right, so even though I had tapped, the app automatically fixed it, but I just wanted to make sure, because I've never been in a situation where I tapped it and it didn't, and I broke, like as I was about to get on it, it didn't work. I don't know. I just wanted to double check. It took less than 5 minutes. Oren, shout out to you. And it was great. And it was a simple fix. Honestly, if there's ever a question that you have, Disney Guest Relations has always been super helpful in my opinion, and in my experience. So if you're ever concerned or you don't know, just ask a guest relations person. You can also avoid going to the front of the park wherever it's located if you just find the blue umbrellas that say guest relations. They'll help you. But so now I've made another lightning lane for the Seas with Nemo and Friends, so I'm gonna head over there. And then we just keep walking. All right, here we are. We made it to the Seas with Nemo and Friends. This is a slow-moving dark ride, very similar to Under the Sea Journey with the Little Mermaid over in Magic Kingdom, where it's after the events of Nemo, but they kind of lose Nemo again. Now, I would not recommend using Genie for this ride. Again, this is really just more of a challenge to see how quickly we can do this. Typically, this wait time is almost non-existent. For example, it was 10 minutes. It might get a little bit higher depending on crowd levels, but traditionally, it stays pretty low. They just announced that Nemo is also closing. Bad luck today. we made it on. We only waited like 10 minutes, so glad I stayed.
Let's go explore, explore, explore. Let's go explore the big blue world. Totally, but everybody's looking for you.
Okay, Nemo was tons of fun. It's not necessarily a must-do, but it's a great way to get out of the heat, especially if some of the lines are longer. Now I have strategically planned this. It wasn't that hard. But now I am gonna go to Turtle Talk with Crush. That's my next lightning lane of the day. Turtle Talk with Crush is a really, really cute show where kids get to talk with Crush from Finding Nemo, where he asks them questions and they get to ask him questions, and it's super interactive and even fun for parents. So highly recommend. Another great place to get out of the sun. Now this show pretty consistently sits at a 15-minute wait, and not because it's a super long line a lot, but because you have to wait in between shows.
That was awesome, but I said hello, human dudes! Hi! They love it, dudes! This is so cool. Oh, and whoa, look at all these rad little duders down here. Alright, here we go. You so totally rock! Oh, that was just epic.
All right, so we just finished up Turtle Talk with Crush. I love that show. It always makes me laugh. Crush is always very funny, and it's just cute, interactive, and I think it's a really nice kind of change from the other shows that you can find through Disney World. I just think it's unique. I think it's a lot of fun. Now, while I was hanging out in there, I made my next lightning lane for Living with the Land. That ride is not a short one, luckily for me, because I love it, but also that means I think right now Soren is about 15 minutes out, so as soon as I tap in, I'll make one for Soren, and then we can finish up in that area as well. We're gonna head into the Land Pavilion. This is where you can also find the Awesome Planet show and Garden Grill, but Awesome Planet does not have a lightning lane availability. It doesn't use it, so we aren't gonna be seeing it today. Living with the Land, though, if you've never been on it, it's a fun little boat ride where Disney teaches you about different agricultural programs. They also talk about how they really do grow produce and even have fish farms here, and you get to see those, and they even use them in some of their restaurants like Garden Grill. Perfect timing. We just hopped off Living with the Land. Our Soren is in 5 minutes, but as we've already discussed, you can tap in 5 minutes early. So I'm gonna go tap in, and then it's time for Frozen. So we're gonna head over to Norway, do Frozen, and then we will come back. We only have 3 things left because Spaceship Earth just didn't work out for us. But we still have Figment, the Pixar Short Film Festival, and Spaceship Earth, and then we're done. So if you've never been on Soren, Soren is a flight simulator that takes you around the world. And honestly, it's kind of an EPCOT classic in my opinion. It's not as popular as, say, Test Track, Frozen, or even Remy right now, but wait times can still get pretty high for this one. All right, Soren was great. It was super fun. Weirdly enough today, the smell of the grass reminded me of my dog, Pepper. I don't know, but it was awesome. It's time for Frozen Ever After, so I'm gonna walk over to Norway, and then we'll come back for our last few rides. I can't believe it's this early. It's only 4. We're doing all right. Friends, I have to be honest with you, I have no rain gear. So, I have 50 minutes until Frozen ends. I might run to Figment. Maybe it'll leave by the time Figment's done. I think that might be my plan. We made it to Figment. I'm soaking wet. But you know what? That's why you always have rain gear, and I don't have it. So do as we say, not as we do. Let's go right to Figment. and hoping that it stopped raining because we have to go to watch it. Oh my gosh, I'm getting distracted because we have to go now to Frozen. I love flower and garden merch. I'm sorry I'm getting distracted, editors and people watching. I'll stop now. It has not stopped raining, but it's almost done, so Frozen. All right, we made it back here. Frozen Ever After is a boat ride that takes you through the journey kind of after Frozen has happened. So you're going up to Elsa's Ice Palace. It's gonna be a party. Sven is gonna be there. Anna's gonna be there. Elsa's gonna be there. Olaf's gonna be there. The whole crew, okay? The whole crew is gonna be there. There's a reason this is a very popular ride, because it's Frozen, but also it's just cute, nice little sing-along, and has a surprising drop or two. Not a big one, but still fun. Left Frozen. Weirdly got Super Splash this time, which has been happening to me lately. Now I will say I have two things left. One of them though is Spaceship Earth, and it still hasn't reopened today. So if it's not reopened by the time we finish Pixar Film Festival, we're just going to probably assume it's not going to open for us. But we'll see how it plays out. Disney always tries to get a ride open when it's down, so if something that you really want to go on is closed temporarily, they work really hard to make sure that they can get it reopened, so don't lose hope until the day is over. And then there's, you know, the park is closed. All right, so we've made our way back over here to check out Disney and Pixar Short Film Festival. So this is a show where you get to head in and you get to watch 3 different Disney and Pixar shorts called Get a Horse, Piper, and Feast. They're actually really wonderful. They are award-winning shorts. And the theater even kind of moves a little bit and interacts with the shorts. This one's easily forgotten, unfortunately, because it's kind of tucked here in the back, and it's a fairly long show. It's about 16-ish minutes, but highly recommend. Weirdly enough, it's one of my favorite shows back here in EPCOT in general. Also in this same building is where you can meet Mickey Mouse. He's in his OG tuxedo with his red pants. It's very cute. Highly recommend coming back here. Right, here we are, Disney and Pixar Short Film Festival. Now this is one of the few things in Disney World that you actually cannot film. So I'm gonna take my seat right here in the back, middle, and I'm probably gonna cry. But I think if you've been around, you might know that. Okay, it was so good. I did cry. Look, come on around. Love it up here. So I did cry. Feast is my favorite. The one at the very end about the dog and his family. And now he gets his dad back together with who becomes his mom. It's so good. However, I just, you know, all of that to be said, love that show. I did just check wait times for Spaceship Earth, and unfortunately it is still closed. And it has been closed since we were in line today. And we had a lightning lane for it, so I'm gonna count it. I'm gonna say we did successfully do it. It is only 5:30 right now as I'm filming this, and we finished all of the lightning lanes today here in EPCOT. Now I don't necessarily think that EPCOT needs Genie Plus. If you haven't noticed or if you aren't aware, there are a handful of things we didn't do. We didn't do several shows. We didn't do Grand Fiesta Tour because none of those things are included within the lightning lanes that are offered here at EPCOT. So if you really want to skip that Frozen line or the Remu line or Test Track, I get it, that's fair. But overall, I don't think it's a necessity. I think with a really good rope drop strategy, you can get through those rides. You can plan around things to do, things to eat, shows to see. There's a lot more here to do at EPCOT, and we just didn't do all of it today. But we got all of the big rides out of the way, and one thing I didn't mention is buying that individual lightning lane for Cosmic Rewind. I also could have joined the virtual queue at 1 p.m. and ridden it twice. That's the only way to do that right now. So it's an option if you want it. All lightning lanes are not created equal. And so, for example, this was a 5-minute wait and I used a lightning lane for it. That's not necessary. But again, I don't think Genie Plus is necessary in EPCOT in the way that it is at Magic Kingdom or even Hollywood Studios. So overall, if you guys liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Now see me do the exact same Genie Plus challenge over in Hollywood Studios. I'll see you there.